Hello and welcome along this evening to our preview of the Antrim and Clare game, Division 3 of the Alliance League this coming Sunday up in Currigan Park in West Belfast. I'm joined tonight by Jim Conlon, who's going to talk around about Clare and what we can expect from the Clare team. But first off, Jim, thank you very much for getting up your time. I know
No,
you're busy doing these and doing different things. I was watching one of your YouTube podcasts just during the week as well. You it seems like you know everything and anything about Clare football, so I'm really interested to pick your head tonight and see what we can expect come Sunday. But yeah, I suppose from Clare itself, you know, down Munster football, they probably don't get the I would say the limelight as much up here as what maybe Cork or Kerry have done, but they've had a lot of success over the last sort of decade in terms of up into Division Two for a long period of time under Colin Collins, obviously. And then last year, you know, Mark Fitzgerald came in, and the start of the year, I think it was 10 from the year before, maybe something like that, had stepped back or retired or definitely weren't playing last year at all. But whenever you look back at the results last year, I think in the league they only lost out to Down and Westmeath, who were eventually promoted. Um, and to me, that's a very good campaign, especially with all the changes going on there. So I suppose if Fitzgerald had left and said I'm done, but obviously he was enticed back into the underage setup and Kerry. But you've got another Kerry man and Peter Kane now. He's taken Kerry to within inches of the Sam Maguire. How's the mood in Clare ahead of this coming season with all that going on?
I suppose the mood is very optimistic. I suppose in Clare now, you mentioned all the departures that were there the year before, and we were sort of pessimistic. We were sort of scared for the first time in a long time. We lost a whole raft of experience in terms of first team players that left the shore. And in terms of, we're all wondering what would it be like. But we knew there was talented youngsters coming through. We knew that the underage setups in Clare, it's a good structure there. I suppose what people wouldn't know about up in Ulster is that if you look at Kerry and Cork underage, the amount of All Irelands they have won at minor level and under 20. So to beat Kerry or Cork, to come out of that is very, very hard. And the way the structure is at the moment, it makes it even harder with the round robin. But Clare always have sort of produced very good teams that would have matched other provinces. It's just that Kerry and Cork were probably winning All Ireland. So it was an extremely hard province to come out of underage, because given how talented in Kerry and Cork have been underage, but Clare would have probably held their own in many other provinces. And I would have been involved in minor for a good number of years. I would have seen that firsthand in terms of playing other teams from counties as well. So we always knew there was good players coming through. I suppose the real added excitement this year is we have probably our two main forwards back this year. And that goes to saying they're probably the two highest scorers in Clare Club Championship. They're probably two leading lights. One was our captain before he stepped away, Owen Cleary. And Keelan Sexton then is a formidable forward at this level. And to be quite frank, they're both probably two Division 2 players, and probably two players that could probably hold their own at Division 1 level. So we do feel that we have a good lot of firepower this year up front, that maybe to add to what was a successful year in terms of last year, in terms of bringing an awful lot of lads through and giving them first-hand experience, that the likes of Emmett McMahon now shined really in the last 1 or 2 years. He's established himself as a really good player. Won with UL, obviously, in that same team with Clifford, played centre forward as well with David Clifford as well. Emmett has been a prodigy in Clare football underage. So we do feel that we have maybe four, shooters up front that can kick from 30, 35 yards. And we think maybe this is with the new 2-point arc rule as well. That's going to be a big advantage for Clare in terms of that. As for Peter Keane, he's no stranger to Clare football. He would have come up against an awful lot of the Clare players underage with Kerry. He would have known them well. He would have scouted an awful lot of them, Peter. I would know Peter personally. I would have come up against him in minor level as well. And he actually has family and relations in County County Clare from a place called Banlically as well. So he's a tie and connection to Clare. He's aunts and uncles all came from Clare on one side of his family as well. So he's no stranger to Clare football, and he has probably a tie or connection with Clare that Mark Fitzgerald didn't have. So there's a feeling that Peter is going to be here for more than 1 or 2 years in terms of this, and maybe he feels he's a point to prove after everything that happened with Kerry as well. So there's added optimism in terms of up front. It's the big question with Clare this year is that we're missing our number one goalkeeper, Stephen Ryan, and he's been a steady keeper for the last, going back even under Colin Collins for the last 4 or 5 years. Behind the sticks in Clare, and we really depended on him in terms of his kick out, his ability to find our midfielders. Whenever Stephen's been absent, or the deputies or the replacement keepers that have stepped up to the mark haven't really cut it at that level and have been found wanting, and Clare have really suffered on their own kick out. So there's a bit of worry in terms of Clare this year is, can we win enough primary possession without the absence of Stephen in goals? He's a big, massive man. He's good at outfield. He would have played outfield with his club as well many a times as well. So he's good, comfortable on the ball, big man, comfortable under the high ball as well. So teams are probably going to go after Clare in terms of the keeper this year to see if there's a fragility there in front of goals, and that's probably one of the big tests for Peter Keane is, can Clare win enough primary possession, and what happens if with the new goalkeeping rules where the ball has to travel a certain length of time, whether teams are going to really target Clare's kick out. But if Clare can win enough primary ball and transfer that ball into the forwards, they certainly have the firepower to do damage this year, one would suspect.
Yeah, I think I don't know how much football you've seen underneath the new rules, but I mean, I think most teams, 80% of them, 80% of the time are going to be doing a high press. It's just you're cutting down what was a big area to try and cover a zonal mark or a man mark, whatever way it was now. It's just too in your favour not to press. You just give the opposition such an advantage if you step off at any inch. It's a difficult enough kick to hit to the angles for any sort of keeper, but any games that I've seen, keepers have been going long. Is there the possibility, I know you've mentioned there around about just the keeper issue, Stephen being out, someone else so far hasn't been able to fill his boots as such. Is there any whispers in Clare around about with the new rules coming up, maybe playing like an out-and-out outfield player in there?
It's a bit uncertainty in terms of what Peter might have up his stick. I know in the challenge game circuit, they have gone with the backup sort of keepers. When they played Westmeath in a challenge, they played Limerick in a challenge, and they've gone with the sort of keepers that have maybe filled his shoes when he's been absent in the past. In terms of, they do have a young up and coming midfielder now. He's young now, and he's played last year. He's probably his second year in the panel in terms of that. Brian McNamara, he's a good midfielder, but he's only 21. Really, he's an up and coming star. Just basically, I'd say he's 2 years. This will be his second year out of under 20s. So whether he's still building, he's still developing into that sort of mold. Now, the big question is who's going to partner him in midfield this year. That's still up in the air at the moment. So that probably won't be known probably to most people outside the camp until the team is named before kickoff. They have tried 1 or 2 options. Dara Bohannon, who played there last year, has gone not committed this year. He's gone travelling. Dara O'Neill has retired. There was the hope that they might get him back, their old player, but they weren't able to entice him. So the big question is who's going to be his partner, Brian McNamara. I know they've been trying different options. It's a bit of secrecy at the moment in terms of who's going to have that jersey. That will probably reveal during the league. So probably we in Clare, we probably don't know who the starting midfield who's going to be, and I suppose many counties that are trying to look at Clare and scout Clare at the moment, they probably don't know who that midfield is going to be either. The rest of the team probably picks itself, in fairness.
Yeah, I think I was reading just the different articles today. I think it was Colin Keys was on Mayo Radio saying around about the promotion of the Alliance Leagues, and just they haven't been there, with the Armagh and Galway have obviously put out their teams last night, but you can take maybe both of them with a wee bit of pinch of salt. There'll be a few of them changing them, but I expect for a lot of teams, I think Division 1's almost like it's about performance. Everybody wants to stay up, but they're not too fussed if they win it. But then there's obviously jeopardy the more further down you go in Division Two. If you don't finish high enough up, either in the Tailteann Cup or else you're relegated. Clare find themselves, I mean, last year I'm looking there, they had a good performance. I think I watched the game against Kerry, and I think for long periods of time, they didn't do themselves any harm. There was some very nice periods of play whenever they were playing on that. They played Cork. I think they were beat by Cork by 2 points, which again, Cork being an established Division Two team isn't bad at all. But then they come up against the two Ulster teams in Tyrone and Donegal, and I think it's probably credit to where Donegal got to. They were both heavy defeats in that. But is there anything that kicking on from last year? Do you think Peter Kane will use last year as a platform to say, look, we were in touching distance of getting back up in Division Two, or is that completely irrelevant?
I think it's irrelevant because I think there's an awful lot of new leaders in terms of the roles. I expect Keelan and Owen Cleary to take up main positions inside. There'll probably be two of that three inside line in terms of probably Aaron Griffin will probably be the third. You'll probably have Emmett McMahon then on the 40 as well. And probably the team, the back line in terms of who they're going to commit to attack now is going to be interesting in terms of who the three they're going to hold back. There's a player, Manus Doherty, loves bombing forward from cornerback, who really can carry the ball at pace, whether they're going to maybe sit one of the wing backs in terms of one of those three and let him attack the lines and break the lines. Killian Moran at centre back as well, a guy who really likes to bomb forward, real prodigy underage as well able to kick a score as well, like, comfortable playing in the forward. Whether they're going to let him go as well, one imagine that the main marker, Killian Brennan at fullback, he's going to pick up the opposition's main forward. He's probably going to stay. So it's going to be interesting in terms of our Clare probably going to hold what players they're going to hold to sit back as terms of that three, and what probably players they're going to release as well to try and punch lines as well. But I think Clare are going to look maybe for the pace of Aaron Griffin and maybe Keelan Sexton inside, and probably Owen Cleary to fall in that loop, in that pocket of 40 himself, and Emmett to try and utilise that 2-point arc as well. Just on Emmett McMahon there as well, I think they played Westmeath in a challenge, and I think by halftime he had 10 points on the board. So he's really able to utilise and sort of kick from distance, and Owen Cleary is one of those players. So I think maybe Clare are going to use to try and go direct firstly, and try and use maybe Keelan and Aaron inside, and if that doesn't work out, then have Owen drop from the inside line and maybe Emmett on the 40 to try and create spaces. But it's going to be interesting to see what players they hold back, and maybe one of the midfielders might even drop back to a centre back to let Killian attack as well. So it's going to be interesting, the whole dynamics with these new rules. You don't know what defenders teams are going to keep back and what defenders are going to allow attack as well. So that's going to be interesting for a Clare aspect.
I was texting Philly McMahon earlier on. He said to me he thinks he's doing the Donegal and Dublin game, or the Derry and Dublin game on BBC here. He does the commentary. I said, well, you may get swatting this weekend because it's an experience for everybody, and I don't feel, I'm not envious of any of the commentators who will be doing these next couple of the weeks on, because it is a new experience for everybody. And I think everybody just needs to take a bit of realization when it comes to that, including for referees as well. They're going to get calls wrong this weekend, they're going to get calls wrong next weekend, but they're not going to be able to do them on purpose. But look, Jim, I know you're stuck for time. I just want to thank you for giving up your time and coming along, give us a bit of insight into where Clare is. We obviously have a Clare man ourselves up here now, and Davey, he's up looking after the hurlers. So a bit of a journey for them every other weekend. I think he stays up in here. But thank you very much, Jim. And if you're traveling up on Sunday, maybe a bump into you, but if not, safe travels, and hopefully touch base during the year again.
Yeah, Kevin, no problem. We wish Antrim the best of luck. I think for Clare season, just to finish on the note, we have 4 home games in terms of that, and we've Offaly and Leitrim at home, so we're hoping that there'll be 4 points on the board. Fermanagh are coming down to us, but I think what make or break our season is we probably have Sligo away, followed by Kildare at home. They follow in concurrent, and we'd be hoping that if one win out of those, we'd be hoping to be enough. And there's a feel in Clare that if we don't go up in first place, that we will be going into the last day, that second place will be very achievable for us. And we have Offaly at home on the last day, and we feel that if we're in that position for our second place is on offer the last day at home to Offaly, we'd be hoping to take it.
Yeah, no, I think it's credit to you as well. Like you look at teams like maybe Limerick who were up in Division Two, you just fell off a cliff face. Now they find themselves in bottom of Division Four somewhere. But yeah, I think it's fair play to Clare and their systems and structures they have in place. They are bringing talent through on a continuous basis. It's not just once in a generation sort of thing. So look, best of luck to you, and I hope your year is successful as you need to be.
Cheers. Thank you,
All
Kevin.
right, cheerio now, Jim. So look, thanks for Jim for jumping on. I'm just going to go through Antrim here and get us some thoughts on Antrim. Give 5 minutes or so, I suppose. Antrim, where we're starting out at is Andy McEntee's third year up in Antrim. Andy, he's been not quiet in the papers of late about the rules and stuff like that. It just niggles on me. I'm like, just get on with it and run with it. But I think that where Antrim are, they haven't, as far as I'm aware, they haven't changed too much in the backroom team, and it just feels like I know they're trying different systems and different ways of playing, trying to learn from last year. I would have liked it to have brought somebody in, somebody a bit more aware of how to coach maybe defensive structures in particular. I suppose, things outside of Andy's control in a way. You've got Rory McCann from Craig has retired. You've Dacky Lynch is retired. Then your list of injuries around about your Adam Lochran. You have Owen McCabe, I think, is on his way back. Ram Murray's on his way back as well. He has been playing a wee bit, but he's still coming back from that sort of injuries. I'm not sure what the crack is with Ewan Walsh. Pat Shivers isn't there this year. You think other players who are not involved this year. But I mean, I still think that with the panel of players that are there, Antrim have the potential to stay up in Division Three, and I think that's what their ambition has to be this year. Obviously, they'll go out on Sunday, and they will want to win that game. If they didn't win that game, I would be off their performance. It'd be off their performance that allows them to give them hope for the rest of the year. I think that things can be quite negative. I'm very critical of Antrim, but it's not the Antrim team. It's more about the structures and the committees and things that are on in there. And I almost feel like at times they're letting players down on that. I suppose from a coaching perspective, my biggest concerns this year is around about their defence. I think they're far too easy to play into. If you go back and watch the Leafs game, I know it was Croke Park. Big massive pitch, but if you watch that game, they're far too naive in their defence. They don't have a structure around a big defence. I would much prefer them actually working on a structure in defence. I watched them against UU, and there was a lot of changes that day, but they were open up at the back far too much. I think going forward, they're grand, but if they're going to rely on Mick Byrne, who I think is a brilliant keeper, if they're going to rely on him to get up into every phase of play, that would cause me a bit of concern. I think Antrim have to go with the idea that they go fast, not be afraid to shoot. I think Andy sometimes can say, make sure you give it to the shooters. Those days are gone. It's shoot and shoot often. You just heard Jim saying there around about the keeper maybe being an issue, and also their inability to retain possession. So if I'm going out on Sunday here, I'm telling them, get the ball up the pitch as quick as you can and get a shot off within a minute. Each time it's within a minute. If it goes, so long as it goes dead, you're giving yourself an opportunity. I think that's the way they have to be. They have to aim for about 25 to 30 shots in this game. Come the weekend, they don't have an awful lot of players who can actually hit 2-pointers, and it is concerning to hear that maybe Clare do have that. So again, rather than Antrim try and get 70% or 80% conversion of 20 shots, they need to be going for 50% conversion of 30 shots or 60% conversion of 25, 26 shots. So yeah, I think there's just a wee bit of a lack of understanding. I also think there's a bit of a balance issue. I don't think Andy has the right people in the right position. I would be critical of, again, the centre half back who has been Joseph Finnegan. Not Joseph Finnegan as a player as such, but just playing that role. I don't think it suits him. I don't think he's the type of player who can play centre half back. I'd much rather have somebody in there, maybe like I know he's been injured a lot, Dermot McAleese. I'd much rather have somebody like that, or even Ian Mulch. I'd rather bring him in the centre half back and push Joe back into full back, or maybe bring Joe in the midfield. I'm not sure. I just don't. I just think that six is so pivotal that it takes a lot of leadership and a lot of communication, effective communication. And to be a smart, you have to be a very intelligent footballer to play six. It's an anchor role. Going back even to the days of, which is what we're going back to now, almost the days of Kieran McGeeney playing it. Kieran McGeeney played a six role whereby he didn't step maybe 10 metres either side. He almost just played a square. And it's just your anchor. It just makes everything so hard to get down. Joe can get up the pitch. Joe can get up the pitch. He's got goals last year and things like that. But I just think that he's just played in the wrong position. I think, luckily enough, this year, the idea of playing Mark Jordan in corner forward and bringing him out into half back or as a free man, it's gone. which I think is brilliant because Mark's not effective at playing that role. I think he can get confused in playing that role, not because he's a teacher, he's a smart enough fella, but I think that whenever he's brought in to do that role, he's almost taken away from his strengths. His strengths is that he's marking somebody, and then he gets the ball whenever he's being marked and can drive at teams, can run fast at teams. Last year, I think he had a poor enough year for his own standard last year, although he was up playing for Ulster, which is brilliant. But I think he had a poor enough year by his own standard because he was played out of position. I'd much rather than play him right half back and just tell him, there you go, or play him midfield and say, there you go, that you get the ball and you go and you break lanes, because he continually does break lanes at times as well in there. I think he's a danger man. I was watching the Wicklow game last year, and they kept coming up and asking how many times has Jordan touched the ball, how many times has Jordan touched the ball, and I think that is one of the key strengths for Antrim this year. Is they do have people like Mark Jordan and Patrick McBride, Kavanagh, who can break lines. So I think that's there. Speaking of Pat, I think Pat McBride needs to play centre half back. If it's me, my half back line simply is Mark Jordan, Durham McAleese, and Patrick McBride. Durham McAleese is a smart six in the hole in that, and then you've got two very very fast players out on the wings who are going to break forward for you at pace. They played Niall Burns in there last year. At times Niall had very good games, but Niall's not a halfback. You didn't even see never he's playing for St. Galls. If he's brought in the halfback, he's almost wasted. And I'm not saying that he can't play halfback, but it's not his best position. His best position is in corner forward. He's not afraid to take players on whenever he gets onto the ball, and maybe a bit more confidence. He at the county team, he'll shoot for some goals and put all sorts of balls over. Whenever it comes to Antrim, I think he's maybe just a wee bit more. Probably goes back to Andy saying about give it to shooters and try and get your high conversion rates. I think Antrim had to forget about that. Let Niall Burns shoot as often as he can. If Ryan McQuillan's playing in there, you don't even have to take a man on. Just have a go. As soon as you get the ball, have a go and try and get high volume of shots off. I think that's the way that they need to go to it. You in Mick Byrne, I think you have one of the best keepers in Ulster. You take Rory Began out of it, and in fact, I actually think he might be better than Began. But you take Rory Began out of it, and you take Niall Morgan out of it, and across Ireland, you probably wouldn't get a better keeper. He's a brilliant kick on him. He can take scores. He's always involved in the play, so they get up in the pitch. The only thing is, Antrim can't do what Monaghan do. Monaghan are limited in how well they play. They better players. It's different level altogether, but they're limited in what they can do because they over rely on Rory Began far too much. I don't think Antrim can afford to do that. The good thing about Antrim is that they have, like I said, Ryan Murray coming back. Chatting around with Jimmy the other day, he's played bits and pieces of it. He will hopefully be back this year and get a good solid run at it. I'm not sure what the score is with Owen McCabe. Again, another player who's very fast and effective, getting out, and he can take scores too. They've young people in there had a good year last year. So Connor Hahn had a decent enough year last year. Hopefully he comes on a bit more this year. Ryan McQuillan, Connor Stewart from Ballymena, he's a big lad. Probably play him around a bit midfield, decent full forward as well. He's a quality footballer. Moss had a brilliant year last year. I thought in fullback. Antrim do have an issue in fullback, but it was certainly tied up a lot last year, which just shows me that Ewan's a very smart, intelligent player. And if it's not McAlee centre half back for me, it's Ewan Walsh. That's where I would play him in centre half back. I just think that Joe's probably better fullback than he is in centre half. Then there's a couple of new players on the team. So you've Dan McNichol from Port Glenroe. He had a brilliant county final. I thought he had a brilliant game in the county final. He was around about the team last year as well. Watched him. He's a fast boy. He do a good man marking job. You have who's in there? Peter King from St. Braids. I haven't seen much of him, but I hear he's a very good footballer. I do hear he's a very good footballer. He was decent enough that day against UU without being brilliant. And then for me, you have Connor Adams, St. John's man. I think Connor's still very young. I don't think he'll make it this year. But if Connor keeps his head right, he'll be there next year. But he should use this year as a platform to get in Andy's radar, to use it as training to get himself into, let's say, a similar condition to what Connor Hans got himself into. Look at Antrim. There, no Pat Chilvers this year. He's not playing for them. You've Rory McCann is retired. The other Rory McCann's out injured, or so was out injured. You've Adam Lockround. You've Declan Lynch. He was a very good footballer all the way. There's a lot of players missing. They probably don't have the depth that they've always had, but I honestly believe that there's enough players in that team that can sustain a challenge in Division 3 and keep them up in there. And unfortunately, that's what Antrim are at the moment. They need to be staying in Division 3. Unfortunately, I think they've only 3 home fixtures. I'd much rather play Leash at home than Leitrim. I think they'll get Leitrim okay. They can match Fermanagh. I looked at Fermanagh the other day. I don't think Fermanagh are an overly fit team. I think they're carrying a lot of timber. Maybe that'll start to shed in the next couple of weeks. But I wouldn't be. I don't think there's anything to fear in Fermanagh. And in fact, if Antrim and Clare obviously fancy themselves this weekend, if Antrim don't get the win this weekend, so long as they put in a performance, I think Antrim are holding no fears going to Brewster Park next week or wherever that game will be at. You look at some of the performances Antrim put in on the road over the last couple of years. They played down, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, maybe. Even last year, although it wasn't a good game, they went and run. They done already against Down. Down are now up in Division 2. They've beat Offaly away. They've put in performances away as well. So I don't think going away actually fears Antrim. And they certainly can. I think that minimum 4 points, but they should be aiming for 6. And it's there. It's definitely there. They could definitely do that. So that's us for tonight, folks. Hope you all, anyone going to the game on Sunday, enjoy it. Be a good day. Hopefully it stays dry. The wind disappears. Carrigan's a great venue. Bit of a nightmare that we've lost the Ulster Championship game. But yeah, I know it's a dead duck. As far as I'm concerned, it's a dead duck. The game's over before it started. But I think there's a point of principle that Antrim draw down next year, draw Fermanagh next year, even Cavan, whatever it might be. Teams who are maybe not at the high caliber of all Iron winning champions like Armagh. I just think that what's to stop Fermanagh next year saying we actually have 4,500 people here plus the Antrim's 1,000. We can't play it there. I just think it sets a precedent that Antrim can't play at home for a number of years. So, God bless. Safe travels.